The unexpected kindness in his colleague's voice felt alien, almost suspicious. Mark found himself tensing, bracing for the hidden agenda, the inevitable letdown. He'd built a life around anticipating disappointment, around the certainty that even moments of peace were merely pauses before the next wound. A part of him, an insidious, familiar comfort, almost preferred the certainty of pain to the terrifying uncertainty of joy. This profound addiction to suffering, this pervasive tendency to cling to narratives of struggle, to anticipate harm even when none is present, can become a self-fulfilling prophecy. We build walls, we push away warmth, we find comfort in the familiar ache, believing it's all we deserve, all we've ever known. This constant internal state of alert, this readiness to sting or be stung, echoes the ancient, solitary dance of a creature designed for defense. Imagine the scorpion, an armored relic of the desert, perpetually poised with its tail raised, its venomous stinger ever ready. Even in the stillness of the night, when no threat is visible, it remains on high alert, its nervous system wired for immediate defense or offense. Its very existence seems defined by a readiness to inflict pain or to endure it, an ancient instinct for survival in a hostile world. But what happens when this perpetual state of readiness for battle becomes an inner prison? What are the true costs when the human spirit, even in moments of peace, remains trapped in the expectation of pain, forever ready to sting or be stung? Sarah had a major presentation that could significantly advance her career. Days before, she found herself inexplicably delaying her preparation, picking fights with loved ones, and staying up late watching pointless shows. On the day, exhausted and distracted, she fumbled key points. Afterwards, a familiar, perverse sense of relief settled over her. Of course, it didn't go perfectly, she thought. This is just how my life is. This pervasive self-sabotage wasn't a conscious choice. It was an insidious pattern, an almost compulsive need to undermine her own success, to confirm her deepest fears of inadequacy or unworthiness. She longed for triumph, for breakthroughs, but an unseen hand, her own, perpetually steered her towards paths of frustration and limitation, leaving her perpetually stuck, a prisoner to her own destructive patterns, constantly inflicting small wounds on herself to avoid the perceived greater pain of true success or vulnerability. This pervasive self-sabotage, this almost compulsive act of inflicting harm upon oneself, finds a stark and unsettling parallel in the scorpion's defensive sting, even when its own well-being is at risk. Scorpions are known for their readiness to use their venomous stinger when threatened, or even when perceiving a slight disturbance. While primarily a defense mechanism, a cornered scorpion may even sting itself, a phenomenon observed in extreme stress or certain environmental conditions appearing to inflict self-harm. Their entire physical and behavioral design is geared towards a potent, immediate defense. This defensive sting embodies a creature constantly wired for perceived danger, whose primary response, even to ambiguous situations, is to deploy its most potent weapon, often with self-detrimental consequences if misdirected. For the scorpion, the sting is an inherent part of its being, a readiness to wound, a primal, often reflexive, response to stress. The human experience of self-sabotage directly mirrors the scorpion's defensive sting. In human neurobiology, self-sabotage can be linked to deeply ingrained neural pathways associated with negative reinforcement, avoiding perceived worse outcomes by creating smaller, familiar pains and trauma responses where familiar suffering feels safer than the unknown. The prefrontal cortex, planning, may be overridden by the limbic system, emotion, especially when subconscious beliefs about unworthiness or a fear of success are at play. Psychologically, self-sabotage often stems from low self-esteem, a fear of vulnerability, or a belief that one doesn't deserve success or happiness. Evolutionary psychology suggests that in certain contexts, self-limiting behaviors might have served to avoid greater threats by keeping one safe within a familiar, albeit painful, status quo. Just as the scorpion, under duress, might sting itself, a self-sabotaging person continually inflicts small, familiar pains upon themselves, perpetuating a cycle of suffering to avoid a deeper, often imagined, threat. Sarah felt the chilling familiarity of her own self-sabotage, the perverse comfort in seeing her predictions of failure come true. She was confronting the immense personal cost of this insidious pattern, the vibrant successes it prevented, and the genuine happiness it denied her. Would she continue to live in this cycle of self-inflicted wounds, forever undermining her own potential, forever confirming her deepest fears? Or would she, like a scorpion that, when truly safe, can lower its tail and find peace, dare to drop her defenses, to challenge her ingrained patterns, to allow herself to succeed without penalty, risking the discomfort of unfamiliar joy? Her instinct was to brace, to preemptively strike at her own happiness, to control the narrative of her suffering. But the profound exhaustion, the yearning for genuine breakthrough, now demanded a different, more courageous choice. She had to acknowledge that her protection was not just keeping her safe, but also slowly destroying her. The scorpion's defensive sting and its potential for self-inflicted harm offer a stark and powerful metaphor for the human struggle with self-sabotage. It teaches us that while self-protection is vital, an unchecked habit of undermining our own progress can lead to profound cycles of repeated failure, missed opportunities, and an ingrained comfort in suffering. By understanding the primal defense mechanism that drives the scorpion's readiness to sting, we are invited to confront the origins and costs of our own patterns of self-inflicted wounds. May we learn from the scorpion to discern when our defenses are protecting us and when they are turning inwards, and to understand that true resilience lies not in perpetually bracing for harm, but in the courage to lower our guard, to trust in our own deservingness, and to allow ourselves to thrive breaking free from the self-imposed prison of suffering. David walked into every new relationship, every new job, with an invisible shield up. He meticulously scanned for red flags, for any sign of betrayal, any hint of disappointment. A late reply to a text, an offhand comment, a slight change in tone. Each was meticulously analyzed, a potential threat confirmed. This pervasive hypervigilance wasn't caution. It was a constant, exhausting state of alertness, a relentless anticipation of harm that robbed him of peace and genuine connection. He lived in a world where danger lurked around every corner. Even when the sun shone brightly, his nervous system perpetually wired for attack or escape. He longed for trust, for ease in his interactions, but the ingrained habit of predicting betrayal kept him isolated, perpetually on edge, unable to relax into the present moment, forever searching for the next wound. This pervasive hypervigilance, this constant state of readiness for danger, finds its precise embodiment in the scorpion's constant alert. Scorpions are creatures of the night, often solitary, and their survival in harsh environments depends on their acute awareness of their surroundings. They possess specialized sensory hairs and organs that detect vibrations in the ground and air, making them incredibly sensitive to the slightest disturbance. Even when seemingly still, they are constantly processing sensory information, their bodies poised, their tails often raised, ready to react instantly to any perceived threat or opportunity. This constant alert is not a choice. It's a fundamental aspect of their nervous system, wired for immediate defense or predatory action. For the scorpion, being on high alert is a survival imperative, a perpetual anticipation of danger in a world that demands unwavering vigilance. The human experience of hypervigilance directly mirrors the scorpion's constant alert. In human neurobiology, hypervigilance is often a symptom of trauma, anxiety disorders, or chronic stress, leading to an overactive amygdala, fear center, and a dysregulated sympathetic nervous system. The brain is constantly scanning the environment for threats, even when none are present, leading to exhaustion and a distorted perception of reality. Psychologically, it stems from past experiences of betrayal, abuse, or unpredictable environments, leading to a learned belief that the world is inherently unsafe. Evolutionary psychology suggests that vigilance was crucial for ancestral survival in dangerous environments. However, when it becomes chronic, it leads to paranoia, difficulty trusting others, chronic anxiety, and a profound inability to relax or feel safe. Just as the scorpion is perpetually wired for danger, a hypervigilant person lives with a constant internal alarm, unable to truly find peace, even in safe spaces, forever anticipating the next hurt. David felt the suffocating grip of his own hypervigilance, the exhausting internal siren that never quieted. He was confronting the immense personal cost of this pervasive anticipation of harm, the genuine connections it sabotaged and the quiet joy it obliterated. Would he continue to live in this perpetual state of readiness for battle, forever bracing for the inevitable disappointment that never fully arrived, yet always felt imminent? Or would he, like a scorpion that, in a truly safe burrow, can rest its stinger, dare to gradually lower his guard, to challenge his ingrained assumptions of danger, to allow himself to trust and relax, even if it felt terrifyingly vulnerable? His instinct was to scan, to protect, to predict harm. But the profound exhaustion, the yearning for genuine ease and connection, now demanded a different, more courageous choice. He had to acknowledge that his protection was not just keeping him safe, but also slowly isolating him. The scorpion's constant alert and its inherent hypervigilance offer a profound metaphor for the human struggle with chronic hypervigilance. It teaches us that while caution is prudent, an unchecked habit of constantly anticipating harm can lead to profound exhaustion, paranoia, and a diminished capacity for trust and genuine connection. By understanding the primal defense mechanism that drives the scorpion's relentless vigilance, we are invited to confront the origins and costs of our own internal alarm systems. May we learn from the scorpion to discern when our awareness is helpful and when it is becoming a self-imposed prison, and to understand that true safety lies not in perpetually bracing for impact, but in the courage to gradually lower our guard, to trust in the present moment, and to allow ourselves to experience the peace and connection that arise when we choose to live in genuine safety rather than constant threat. Chloe entered every new social gathering with a subtle edge. Her humor was often sarcastic, her comments sometimes sharp, and she held herself with a guarded stiffness. She wasn't intentionally trying to be hurtful. It was an unconscious defensive posturing, a way to preemptively protect herself from perceived judgment or rejection. She believed that if she appeared strong, unapproachable, or even slightly aggressive, others wouldn't dare to hurt her. This pervasive defensiveness wasn't true strength. It was a deeply ingrained shield that kept genuine connection at bay. She longed for authentic relationships, for true intimacy, but the fear of vulnerability of being found out or wounded kept her perpetually encased in an emotional armor, forever pushing away the very warmth she craved, ensuring a cycle of self-inflicted isolation. This pervasive defensive posturing, characterized by an immediate readiness to protect oneself, finds its starkest and most iconic parallel in the scorpion's ready stinger. The scorpion's tail, tipped with its venomous barb, is almost always held in a raised arch position, a clear and immediate signal of its defensive capabilities. It doesn't need to be actively provoked to adopt this posture. It's a default state of readiness, a visual warning to any potential threat. This ready stinger is not just a weapon. It's a constant declaration of its intent to defend itself, a physical embodiment of its inherent wariness and its preparedness to deliver a potent, painful response at the slightest provocation. For the scorpion, this posture is a continuous, unmistakable message. I am armed. I am dangerous. Approach with caution. The human experience of defensive posturing directly mirrors the scorpion's ready stinger. In human neurobiology, chronic defensiveness can be linked to an overactive amygdala perceiving threats and a heightened stress response system, leading to automatic protective behaviors. It often stems from past experiences of emotional pain, criticism, or betrayal, where individuals learned that preemptive defense was necessary for survival. Psychologically, defensive posturing is rooted in low self-esteem, a fear of vulnerability, or a belief that attack is the best form of defense. Evolutionary psychology suggests that aggressive displays could deter rivals and protect resources. However, when it becomes chronic, it leads to strained relationships, an inability to build trust, and a profound sense of isolation, as genuine emotional intimacy becomes impossible. Just as the scorpion always has its stinger ready, a defensive person lives with a constant internal and external readiness for battle, always bracing for attack, unable to fully relax or allow others in. Chloe felt the subtle tension in her own body, the constant internal bracing that marked her interactions. She was confronting the immense personal cost of this pervasive defensive posturing, the genuine connections it repelled, and the quiet moments of ease it denied her. Would she continue to live encased in this emotional armor, forever pushing away the very warmth she craved, forever ensuring her own isolation? Or would she, like a scorpion that, in truly safe conditions, can lower its tail, dare to gradually soften her edges, to lower her emotional guard, to allow for genuine vulnerability, risking the discomfort of exposure for the sake of true connection? Her instinct was to protect, to project strength, to keep others at a distance. But the profound loneliness, the yearning for genuine intimacy, now demanded a different, more courageous choice. She had to acknowledge that her strength was not just protecting her, but also slowly imprisoning her. The scorpion's ready stinger and its constant, defensive posture offer a powerful metaphor for the human struggle with defensive posturing. It teaches us that while self-protection is vital, an unchecked habit of constantly guarding oneself can lead to profound isolation, strained relationships, and a diminished capacity for genuine intimacy. By understanding the primal defense mechanism that drives the scorpion's unwavering readiness, we are invited to confront the origins and costs of our own emotional armor. May we learn from the scorpion to discern when our defenses are protecting us and when they are pushing others away, and to understand that true strength lies not in an impenetrable shield, but in the courage to selectively lower our guard, to trust in our own resilience, and to allow for the vulnerability that enables authentic connection and a life of deeper, more meaningful relationships. Liam carried a deep, invisible ache. It wasn't a physical wound, but a pervasive sense of sadness, an unaddressed grief from years past, mixed with lingering resentments. He found himself dwelling on injustices, replaying painful memories, almost as if he were seeking out the familiar sting. He resisted joy, feeling guilty when things went well, believing that happiness was fleeting and always followed by pain. This chronic emotional pain wasn't a temporary state. It was a deeply ingrained pattern, a comfort in the familiar ache that had become a part of his identity. He longed for a lightness, for release, but the ingrained habit of clinging to his suffering kept him trapped in a perpetual state of quiet misery, forever revisiting old wounds, unable to truly step into a future free from the past's relentless grip. This pervasive chronic pain, particularly the enduring nature of self-inflicted or prolonged suffering, finds a haunting parallel in the scorpion's enduring venom. Scorpion venom, once delivered, causes intense, lasting pain and physiological distress. For the scorpion itself, its existence is one defined by the potential for delivering this pain, and in some species, even experiencing the effects of their own venom in accidental self-stings, or in the context of scientific observation. The venom is an integral, enduring part of its being, a constant presence that defines its power and its potential for harm. This enduring venom symbolizes a creature whose very essence is tied to the capacity to inflict or withstand pain, a continuous internal readiness that permeates its entire being. For the scorpion, the venom is always present, always a part of it, defining its interactions with the world. The human experience of chronic emotional pain or self-perpetuated suffering directly mirrors the scorpion's enduring venom. In human neurobiology, chronic pain, whether physical or emotional, can alter brain pathways, leading to a pain memory and a heightened sensitivity to negative stimuli. The limbic system can become stuck in a loop of re-experiencing past hurts, while the dopamine reward system can, paradoxically, reinforce cycles of self-defeating behavior, as the familiarity of pain provides a perverse sense of control or predictability. Psychologically, chronic suffering can stem from unresolved trauma, a sense of unworthiness, or a learned pattern where attention or identity is derived from being in a state of struggle. Evolutionary psychology suggests that the experience of pain is adaptive for learning and survival, but chronic, self-perpetuated pain is maladaptive. Just as the scorpion carries its potent venom, a person in chronic emotional pain lives with a constant, internal source of suffering, often unwilling or unable to release the familiar ache, perpetually reaffirming a narrative of pain. Liam felt the familiar weight of his chronic emotional pain, the pervasive sadness that had become his constant companion. He was confronting the immense personal cost of this ingrained pattern, the vibrant joys it eclipsed and the healing it resisted. Would he continue to cling to his suffering, believing it defined him, forever trapped in the echoes of past wounds? Or would he, like a scorpion that, despite its venom, can live peacefully when undisturbed, dare to gradually release the grip of his old pains, to seek genuine healing, to allow himself to experience joy without guilt, risking the discomfort of unfamiliar peace? His instinct was to revisit, to dwell, to stay in the familiar ache. But the profound exhaustion, the yearning for genuine liberation, now demanded a different, more courageous choice. He had to acknowledge that his identity was not just shaped by his pain, but also slowly being consumed by it. The scorpion's enduring venom and its inherent capacity for inflicting pain offer a powerful and unsettling metaphor for the human struggle with chronic pain and an addiction to suffering. It teaches us that while pain is an inevitable part of life, an unchecked habit of clinging to past wounds or perpetuating cycles of misery can lead to profound and prolonged suffering, eclipsing the possibility of joy and healing. By understanding the primal nature of the scorpion's enduring defense, we are invited to confront the origins and costs of our own resistance to release from pain. May we learn from the scorpion to discern when our awareness of pain is a signal for growth and when it's becoming a self-imposed prison, and to understand that true liberation lies not in perpetually carrying our venom, but in the courage to heal, to release the familiar ache, and to step into a future where peace is not a threat, but a chosen way of being. Maria found herself in a familiar argument with her partner. The same accusations, the same defensive responses, the same predictable escalation. Later, at work, a minor disagreement with a colleague spiraled into a heated exchange, mirroring dynamics from past jobs. She felt a frustrating sense of déjà vu, as if she were trapped in an endless loop of conflict. This cycle of conflict wasn't random. It was a deeply ingrained pattern, an almost unconscious gravitation towards tension, an expectation that relationships would inevitably lead to pain, prompting her to either provoke or respond defensively, perpetuating the cycle. She longed for peaceful, harmonious connections, but the ingrained habit of anticipating and engaging in battle kept her perpetually wounded, exhausted, and isolated, forever recreating the very suffering she desperately wanted to escape. This pervasive cycle of conflict, characterized by repeated engagements in damaging interactions, finds a stark parallel in the scorpion's iterative stinging and its role in an ecosystem. While a single sting is potent, scorpions will sting repeatedly if threatened or to subdue persistent prey. Their life in a harsh environment often involves constant skirmishes over resources or territory, or in response to perceived threats, leading to iterative stinging, repeated deployment of their defensive mechanism. This continuous engagement in conflict, often with the same outcomes or dynamics, can be seen as a survival strategy, but it also paints a picture of a creature whose existence is defined by its readiness to repeatedly engage in painful interactions, locked in a cycle of attack and defense within its ecosystem. The human experience of cycles of conflict directly mirrors the scorpion's iterative stinging. In human neurobiology, repetitive conflict patterns can be linked to deeply wired trauma responses and the brain's tendency to seek out familiar, even painful, experiences. The amygdala may be chronically activated, creating a threat detection system that misinterprets neutral cues as aggressive. Psychologically, these cycles often stem from unresolved past conflicts, unaddressed relational patterns, or a subconscious belief that drama or conflict is a necessary component of connection or personal identity. Evolutionary psychology suggests that territoriality and competition could be adaptive. However, when these patterns become chronic, they lead to damaged relationships, emotional exhaustion, and a profound inability to break free from self-defeating dynamics, perpetually recreating scenarios of pain and suffering. Just as the scorpion repeatedly uses its stinger in ongoing engagements, a person trapped in conflict cycles continually re-engages in destructive patterns, perpetuating their own suffering. Maria felt the crushing weight of her own conflict cycles, the depressing predictability of her arguments. She was confronting the immense personal cost of this pervasive pattern, the genuine peace it denied her, and the meaningful relationships it fractured. Would she continue to live in this self-created battlefield, forever recreating the very suffering she desperately wanted to escape? Or would she, like a scorpion that, when truly safe, can choose to retract its stinger, dare to break the cycle, to respond differently, to disengage from familiar provocations, risking the discomfort of unfamiliar peace for the sake of genuine harmony? Her instinct was to defend, to fight back, to prove her point. But the profound exhaustion, the yearning for genuine peace, now demanded a different, more courageous choice. She had to acknowledge that her engagement was not just solving problems, but also slowly destroying her. The scorpion's iterative stinging and its role in perpetual conflict offer a powerful metaphor for the human struggle with cycles of conflict and an addiction to destructive patterns. It teaches us that while self-defense is vital, an unchecked habit of constantly engaging in conflict, or perpetually recreating painful dynamics, can lead to profound exhaustion, broken relationships, and an inability to experience lasting peace. By understanding the primal defense mechanism that drives the scorpion's readiness to repeatedly sting, we are invited to confront the origins and costs of our own patterns of escalating conflict. May we learn from the scorpion to discern when our engagement is necessary and when it's becoming a self-defeating cycle, and to understand that true peace lies not in winning every battle, but in the courage to disengage from destructive patterns, choosing to heal and to build relationships based on respect, breaking free from the self-imposed prison of perpetual struggle. Thomas had finally achieved a period of genuine calm in his life. His work was stable, his relationships harmonious, his finances secure. Yet, an unsettling anxiety began to creep in. He found himself almost subconsciously searching for problems, for hidden dangers, for the inevitable shoe to drop. He'd create minor dramas, instigate arguments, or take on unnecessary stress, almost as if the absence of struggle was more terrifying than its presence. This profound fear of peace wasn't rational. It was an ingrained discomfort with stillness, a subconscious belief that peace was a fragile illusion, always followed by a devastating fall. He longed for tranquility, for contentment, but the ingrained habit of living in conflict, of always being on alert, kept him perpetually restless, unable to surrender to the simple ease of well-being, forever anticipating the next disruption, inadvertently sabotaging his own hard-won calm. This profound fear of peace, an inherent discomfort with tranquility, finds a chilling parallel in the scorpion's unfamiliarity with true, sustained calm. Scorpions are solitary, nocturnal predators living in harsh, often unforgiving environments. Their lives are characterized by a constant vigilance for threats, predators, and opportunities, prey, making sustained periods of utter tranquility or safety rare. Even when at rest in their burrows, their physiology remains poised for rapid response. They are adapted to a world of constant potential danger and survival challenges. A prolonged absence of threat, a state of genuine, deep peace, might be so fundamentally alien to their hardwired existence that it could be perceived, paradoxically, as a form of sensory deprivation or even a novel threat due to its unfamiliarity. For the scorpion, true unfamiliar calm is an abstract concept, its very being wired for a world of perpetual struggle and immediate defense. The human experience of a fear of peace directly mirrors the scorpion's unfamiliarity with sustained calm. In human neurobiology, this can be linked to an overactive stress response system that has become accustomed to high levels of cortisol and adrenaline. When these hormones drop, the brain, accustomed to vigilance, might interpret the absence of threat as a new kind of danger, leading to anxiety or restlessness. Psychologically, the fear of peace often stems from a history of trauma, instability, or a deeply ingrained belief that struggle defines identity, or that happiness is always fleeting. It can also be a subconscious way to maintain a sense of control or predictability in an unpredictable world by always anticipating the worst. Evolutionary psychology suggests that a readiness for challenges was adaptive. However, when it leads to a fear of tranquility, it results in self-sabotage, chronic stress, and a profound inability to experience genuine joy or contentment. Just as the scorpion is perpetually wired for struggle, a person with a fear of peace lives with a constant internal aversion to stillness, inadvertently sabotaging their own well-being by creating conflict where none exists, trapped in a cycle of seeking pain. Thomas felt the unsettling anxiety that accompanied moments of true peace, the insidious urge to create chaos when all was calm. He was confronting the immense personal cost of this pervasive fear, the genuine contentment it denied him and the quiet harmony it shattered. When he continued to live in this self-created tension, forever restless in the face of tranquility, forever anticipating the next storm even when the skies were clear. Or would he, like a scorpion, which, when in a truly secure and peaceful environment, can reduce its activity, dare to surrender to the comfort of peace, to trust that calm can be real and sustained, risking the discomfort of unfamiliar ease for the sake of genuine well-being? His instinct was to search for problems, to brace for impact, to remain vigilant. But the profound exhaustion, the yearning for genuine serenity, now demanded a different, more courageous choice. He had to acknowledge that his readiness was not just protecting him, but also slowly destroying his capacity for happiness. The scorpion's unfamiliarity with sustained calm and its inherent wiring for perpetual alert offer a profound and unsettling metaphor for the human struggle with the fear of peace. It teaches us that while vigilance is crucial in a dangerous world, an unchecked habit of anticipating harm can lead to a profound discomfort with tranquility, causing us to inadvertently perpetuate cycles of suffering. By understanding the primal design that keeps the scorpion perpetually poised for battle, we are invited to confront the origins and costs of our own resistance to peace. May we learn from the scorpion to discern when our alertness is necessary and when it's becoming a barrier to genuine contentment, and to understand that true strength lies not in perpetually bracing for the next wound, but in the courage to surrender to moments of calm, to trust in the possibility of genuine peace, and to allow ourselves to rest in the safety of the present, finally breaking free from the self-imposed prison of anticipated struggle.